Yeah, I just wanted to talk about the indictment of James Comey for drawing some lines in the sand and taking a picture of it, and both his current indictment and previous indictment, and what the purpose of the indictment is, and what it means. So, um, this week or last week, former FBI Director James Comey was indicted by a grand jury for drawing 8647 in the sand, and I think posting it to Instagram. And the allegation by the government, the Department of Justice, is that this constitutes like a violent threat, or that can be interpreted as a violent threat. So they brought the case to a grand jury, and he was indicted. So this is a classic example of what's called lawfare, and you know, very very obviously, the prosecution itself. I mean, legal experts and lawyers who understand constitutional law and the relevant areas of law, you know, they all dismiss this case as ridiculous, brought in bad faith, retaliatory, just a very very poor use of the resources of the legal system. But the purpose of the case is not to win or to send James Comey to prison. I'm sure everybody who's bringing the case, who understands the law, knows that it's very, very, very unlikely that he would ever be convicted of such a thing. And it's very, very obvious that it's the case is kind of brought out of spite rather than any kind of sound legal theory. But that the case does have two really, really important points, and those are the first and most important one is the point of doing this is to punish him through the process. The process is the punishment. So prior to these two indictments, James Comey was a lecturer at universities. He's a consultant. Very smart guy and very accomplished guy, and very, his post government life has been active. He's written books. He's been highly sought after. Once the indictments started coming down, those things all dried up, and he ended up, like anyone in that position, he was viewed as a high risk to be hired, because even if he isn't convicted, he'll be tied up in courtrooms and in preparation for court cases, potentially for months, maybe even years. So that's one element of the punishment is stealing his time. The second element of the punishment is financial. Defending yourself against high profile cases like this against government lawyers is expensive. The kind of legal team that you would have to defend yourself against something like this, because he's not going to be defending himself, would bill in the tens of thousands, potentially tens of thousands a day, $1,000 an hour type of lawyers. So you add that up over the course of a trial, or the course of just preparing for a defense, and you're looking at hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. And then the second wrinkle is, not only is that stealing your time and stealing your money, but also there is a clause in in the legal system of the United States, people who are brought to trial or charged with a crime, and they can prove that charge was brought in bad faith. So they can prove it was retaliatory, or they can prove that this case was spurious in nature, are eligible to sue to recover their legal fees. But there's a cap. If someone has a net worth of $2 million or more, they cannot sue. They cannot get that money back. James Comey obviously has a net worth over $2 million. He made $2 million on his book deal alone, I think, recently. So he's not eligible to do that. So what that means is, the Trump administration can keep draining him financially over and over and over again, and he really has no recourse. And the second, pillar of this bad faith prosecution, aside from the fact that he can't really sue to recover damages, is that everyone in the legal system knows that getting indictment is very, very easy. It's said that grand juries will indict a ham sandwich. It's very rare for them not to indict, because the assumption is that a government charge is brought, has some evidence behind it, some weight of evidence. So, theoretically, you could sue James Comey 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, and gradually just drain his finances, put him under severe stress. Obviously not a very pleasant experience. His response to it has been, very encouraging. He says, like, bring it on. He's not afraid. But for, let's say, James Comey is able to handle it financially and psychologically, and then you think about another defendant, maybe with a little bit less money, who is also sued, and this same kind of weaponization of the law system is brought to bear against somebody with a net worth of $200,000 or $500,000, someone who can't really bear those legal costs and what they do in those cases. So that's really the point of all this prosecution, is not to win, although it's a bonus if they do, but it's unexpected that they'll win unless they have a very favorable, let's say, judge or jury. But the point is to wear people down with attrition and punish them by stealing the things that actually matter to them, particularly their time. And in a way, it's a way of kind of imprisoning somebody in the legal system rather than actually putting them in jail.